Hi parents, it's Miss Delana here, and I wanted to give some troubleshooting tips that may help your kids. Tip number 1, making sure that their fingers are 1 finger per note. And I know that can be tricky, especially with younger kids, but it's a good habit for them to get into, making sure 1 finger per note. Sometimes fingers move, and so it's really good at keeping track. Tip number 2, this is a big one. Making sure that their fingers stay kind of glued to the note as best you can. The pinky is the hardest one, I'd say, for that, but at least especially in double jointed people. Like me, I have a little bit of a kick with my pinky, and so it's very easy for me to get tense there. A lot of that has to do with tension, watching their tension on the keys, but making sure that their fingers are nice and curved and they're almost glued to the keys is sort of what you're looking for. You don't want them to be picking up like this. You want them to be nice, curved, playing more like this, like a spider crawling. Think spider crawling and not whatever this is. I can't think of an animal right now that would describe that. But you don't want this. You want nice fingers. And the reason why is because when we're doing this, there's not really a great point of reference for their fingers, and they end up jumping keys and getting lost. So it's just really great habit. Sometimes the easiest little reminder, if you find yourself saying over and over again, keep your fingers glued to the keys, the easiest reminder is just a simple touch. And sometimes that's all it takes, is just touching their keys, and it just is like a memory thing that happens, and these kids, that's all they need. It's just a little bit of a touch on the fingers to remind them, hey, keep your fingers nice and curved. Tip number 3, curved fingers and posture. This is one that I struggled with a lot as a kid, and it has affected me as an adult. So make sure we got curved fingers. The biggest tip that I tell my students, take a fist, take your other hand, put it over the fist, take the fist away. And you have this nice C shape, almost like you're holding a ball, right? And we talked about kind of the spiders crawling. Such a creepy way of saying it, but it's a good visual, I promise. Moving up the keys. And you want to make sure that the wrist is nice and supported. We're not playing our keys like this, where the piano keys are right here and our fingers hanging off. I call them monkey swings. We're not doing any monkey swings. Keeping our wrist nice and supported. And there's a straight angle coming from the piano. So we're not up like this. We're not hanging off, you know. It's a nice, proper posture with a 90-degree angle. There we go. This is a really good way of showing it. And our shoulders straight. Try to keep our back straight, but we don't want tension. Just, I always say, lift the shoulders to the ears, relax, and breathe out, and let them drop. And usually that's a good spot, naturally, that happens. And glued to the keys, and that's a big thing. Tip number 4, keeping their knees at the trim of the piano is a really good way to enforce good posture. This makes it so that they're not sitting too close and their wrists are like this. They're not sitting too far apart and they have not a good angle here. We want their rim right hitting the edge of their knees. And that tells you a good way of maybe the bench is too tall if you're having a hard time with that, or it's too short. There's some things that we can do to troubleshoot that as well. Tip number 5, a bench. So obviously we have the regular bench that kids sit on, but this is a really good one just to put under the feet. This was like $10 maybe at the store. You put it under their feet so that their feet are nice and flat and Number 6. The number one thing that I see when it comes to having a hard time practicing is ask yourself where the keyboard or piano is. For instance, what I often see is an acoustic or electric piano or a keyboard in the living room and the kids are trying to play. Older kids, like older siblings in the house, you know, not really thinking about it much, might be saying, hey, turn that down, or hey, I don't want to listen to that. I want to watch TV because this is the TV room. That's what we've established it as. And that can be really discouraging, especially when kids are practicing and they're playing it incorrectly and they know that and they're trying to get it right. It's a very frustrating thing to hear, hey, I want you to stop now because that's getting annoying. Also looking at, sometimes it's really great to put a keyboard in the bedroom instead of the living room. Sometimes it's terrible. If you're having a kid that's struggling really hard to have that self-discipline, it can be a negative thing to put it in the room because it might end up with clothes on it. If you're having a kid that's really great with self-discipline, then putting it in the room is awesome and designating that time. Just making sure that you have a spot that also sets boundaries of this is the piano location, this is what this is for, making sure that they know when they sit down there, they are practicing. This is the area, it's clean of rubble and trash and clothes or whatever, you know, you may put on it. Watch where the piano is. That is one of the biggest hurdles that I see with students. Tip number 7. If you have a keyboard, utilize earphones. It's really easy to get a converter if you have a 1/4 inch input versus an 1/8 inch, which 1/8 inch is what you typically see on phones. It's really easy to find a converter like on Amazon, and that is very helpful for giving kids the time to practice without disrupting. If you are in a situation where you can't move the keyboard or piano to another location in the house, and it's in an area where there might be some more foot traffic or it might already be an established room for another activity, utilizing headphones is a great way to get around that if you can. Thanks for watching. I hope that you got some great tips and troubleshooting. If you ever have any more questions, please send me an email and I will upload some more answers.